First, Domino's just made a pizza for one because in this economy, nobody's sharing.
Then the Yankees just sold a piece to private equity because the $8.2 billion team, they're cash poor.
And Spotify played good cop and bad cop in 1 week on AI and on this podcast.
Oh boy. This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Wednesday, Ceviche Wednesday, August 12th. And today's pod is the best one yet. This is a T-Boy.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Jack is flying out for a photo shoot tomorrow.
This is a big deal. We're becoming models, Yetis.
Yeah, it is our final week of daily shows before our annual 2-week summer vacation, but we got a lot going on right now, Jack.
Before we start our vacation, we've been asked to become the faces of a very cool brand.
And no, it is not an AI company. We promise you that one.
We can't share the name right now, but we have a photo shoot this week. We're going to be the spokespeople for a fashion icon.
We shaved and we showered.
I've been practicing my blue steel all week.
We'll tell you more soon. But in the meantime, Jack, let's hit our 3 stories. For our first story, the pizza industry is plummeting right now, but Domino's has one small idea to save it, and actually, it's huge.
Because in this economy, earmuffs to all the toddlers listening, no one is sharing, and we've got the data to prove it.
Oh, besties, pour one out for the marinara.
No, don't pour it out. That stuff's expensive. Yet he's the biggest surprise victim of the inflation situation is pizza.
Because prices for cheese, flour, tomatoes, olive oil, they've all been popping over the last few years.
And have you seen the delivery fees? The result is a pizza apocalypse.
The fees, Papa John stock, it's down 80% from its all-time high.
Pizza Hut was just sold last month at a discount price of $2.7 billion.
Little Caesars? More like tiny Caesars.
From 2010 to 2020, Domino's stock was one of the best on the market. It surged by 3,000%.
But Domino's streak of 113 straight quarters of growth is finally over.
It's long over. And even local pizza joints are struggling right now.
In this economy, you're downgrading to frozen pizza from the grocery aisle. Tombstone, they put a tombstone on your local spot.
And Ann Arbor-based Domino's has a small idea to turn it around that could be huge.
Behold, the single pan pie.
Rectangular, single mini pies, socially acceptable for solo diners.
Cooked in their own Detroit-style can. They're called the Domino because they're shaped, like the logo of the company.
So this is a mini-innovation, with big potential.
Pizza Hut's positioning this like it came up with the pizza messiah.
But pause the pod, they haven't found the pizza messiah. Don't we already have what they've just introduced?
Like, Jack, did Domino's just claim to invent the slice?
I think they did. Because this 6x6-inch pizza pie that they just introduced, that's a slice of Sicilian like your grandma's always made it.
Totally. Basically, Domino's just zucked my nana.
So Yetis, at first, it's easy to make fun of this innovation. But below the surface, below the cheese, there's a deeper economic strategy here.
Because, besties, at a macro level, we're in the middle of a solo dining surge.
43% of restaurant meals were eaten alone in the last year, according to Sarcana.
Which is up from around 20% just 10 years ago.
The demographics explain it. Smaller families, more of us are working from home. We're also isolated with our phones on TikTok or Netflix and chilling.
Are you watching Ted Lasso for the 5th time or are you hosting a family reunion dinner, Jack?
You're probably watching Ted Lasso for the 5th time.
But pizza, Yetis, that is the ultimate group food.
It serves a bunch of people at a low cost, something we used to love back in the day before phones.
So this personal pizza from Domino's, it's for not sharing. It's for that 43% who are dining solo right now.
But it's still a profit puppy. Because while a regular pizza for 2 people is $13, this personal pie is $7, so it's the same profit margin.
Add it all up, it's the same profit margin.
But this isn't just for the 43% who dine alone.
Right.
It's also for the 57% who dine together, but don't want to argue.
Yeah, to quote that Nana, Jack, chef's kiss. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Domino's?
Your direct competition isn't necessarily the correct competition.
Yetis, quick question for you. Who is Domino's biggest competitor? Is it Pizza Hut or is it John's Pizza down in the West Village of Manhattan?
Neither of those, Nick.
No.
The biggest pizza competition is a sandwich, a burrito, or a smash burger.
Exactly, because pizza's direct competition is groups of people who don't want to share.
When ordering from a burger spot, everyone can order their own thing. but pizza spots uniquely require that everyone compromise.
Sorry, one second, I'm taking orders here. I want the meaty supreme. My wife wants the pesto artichoke. And Jack, the kids want cheese. They just want cheese.
Someone's not going to be happy
No.
based on those preferences, Nick. So Domino's individual pizza, it's really an option for people who don't want to share. They want to control their own ordering destiny.
It's for selfish people. You see, Domino's personal pizza, it is not meant to compete with pizza. Those slice shops, they already exist if you want to get one of those.
It's to compete with Chipotle, McDonald's, Sweetgreen, places where everyone orders their own thing.
Because, bestie, sometimes your direct competition ain't necessarily the correct competition. For our second story, the Steinbrenner family just sold a piece of the New York Yankees to a private equity firm.
It shows that nothing is sacred in sports, except the World Cup.
Yetis, let's start with Apollo Global Management. They're what Charles Dickens would call a private equity firm.
Because it has great expectations for the New York Yankees.
Whose 17 years without a title have fallen on hard times.
Apollo, headquartered in the famous skyscraper overlooking Central Park, is actually listed right downtown.
Oh, and Jack, one more. The New York Yankees can't Oliver Twist out of this one.
And Apollo's NYSE-listed stock rose 6% Tuesday on news they might get a World Series ring this October.
That's right, because Apollo now owns the New York Yankees.
Well, part of the Yankees, because to sprinkle on some context, Yetis, George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees in 1973 for guess what price, Nick?
I'm going to go with, I would think billions, but it's not billions.
Not even hundreds of millions. $10 million is how much the Yankees sold for in 1973. Boomers had it so easy.
But now the Yankees are worth $8.2 billion. Jack, could you run the math on the whiteboard for us, please?
That is an ROI for the Steinbrenner family of 82,000%.
ROI, that's return on infielders.
Looking at you, Louis Soho. Well, the Yankees have won 7 World Series in the Steinbrenner era, and George passed away, so his son Hal is now in charge.
But believe it or not, Hal Steinbrenner is actually poor on cash these days.
He owns the most valuable team in baseball and the number 10 most valuable team in all of sports.
And yet, that $8.2 billion, it's tied up in the pinstripes.
And he might not even have any cash flow. Given the Yankees' huge payroll, they might not be profitable.
And if the Yankees ain't profitable, that would be incredible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one Yankee fan posted on a blog that he counted ads from 150 different companies at Yankee Stadium this season.
Yeah, as New Yorker, we can tell you there's no limit to the commercialization of the New York Yankees, sponsored by Chase.
They have Audi, Ford, and Toyota as sponsors inside the stadium.
Jack, the Yankees have 15 different alcohol companies as sponsors inside the stadium.
Yeah, you can't say the official alcohol of the Yankees because there's 15 of those.
And yet the New York Yankees still probably ain't profitable.
Yeah, the Steinbrenners don't share their financials, but they do share their payroll, which is enormous.
Jay-Z made a Yankee hat more famous than a Yankee can, but he did pay the Yankees $35 for that hat, Jack.
So, due to the Yankees' lack of profitability and lack of cash, they've been looking for a man in finance. 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund.
Well, perfect timing, Jack, because that happens to literally be every employee at the Apollo private equity firm.
And here's the news. Hal Steinbrenner is splitting off a percent of the company and selling it to Apollo.
That's right. Apollo is giving the Yankees $2.6 billion.
Part of that is a loan. The other part is the purchase of New York Yankees equity.
Now, we don't know how much of it is equity, but Major League Baseball limits minority owners to 15% of the business.
Now, this Yankee fan badly wishes that the Yankees would take that finance money, build a time machine with it, and not demolish the old Yankee Stadium, something I've never forgiven them for.
Nothing like when your butt sticks to the seat because the peanuts the other person was spitting on them. You know that. I love that.
But instead, the Yankees are going to use this money to expand their Yankees empire.
For example, the Yankees own the New York City Football Club. They're trying to build a new stadium for that soccer team instead of using Yankee Stadium for their games.
The Yankees are also co-owners of AC Milan, randomly, and will probably buy another soccer club with these new billions of dollars.
Oh, and Jack, there's Yes Network, which needs better streaming technology, and some of this $2.6 billion will go to the engineers to build that.
And they'll probably add an official AI of the Bronx Bombers and try to get some of that Sam Altman money.
Yeah, the New York Yankees, they just went full Jorge Posada on private equity.
But this is interesting, Nick. A finance titan buys a stake in an iconic sports institution.
Because, Jack, this week, that did happen.
Last week, the same deal fell apart.
Aha. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies going Bernie Williams on the banking over at the New York Yankees?
Only one thing in sports is not for sale.
Yetis, after FIFA obliterated revenue records with America's supersized World Cup this summer, FIFA wanted more.
FIFA president Gianni Infantino organized a secret deal with JP Morgan Chase and Thrive Capital.
And here was the deal. Sell 20% of FIFA's soccer organization to American finance to privatize and for-profitize this beautiful game.
But last week, the soccer federations of the Americas, Europe, and Asia all revolted and killed the deal.
The deal died. Besties, any modern sports fan knows that in the fight between tradition and profits, tradition loses.
Non-profit American institutions, they've sold out.
Yeah, like the big university football programs.
And for-profit sporting institutions, they've sold out too.
Like our New York Yankees.
So have timeless traditions, like no ads on baseball uniforms or the Yankees having a no facial here rule.
Yeah, although, Jack, that one's shockingly not sponsored by Gillette. Can't believe that.
Huge missed opportunity, Hal Steinbrenner.
But besties, still, this FIFA finance deal that got killed last week, it now looks like the outlier.
Apparently, the one thing sacred in sports is the international governing body of the world's biggest sport, FIFA.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor.
For our third and final story, Spotify just announced good guy and bad guy news in the same week on AI, on music, and on podcasts.
Because we're chronicling the war on slop.
Oh, the slop wars. Besties, on Monday, the podcast world had a very minor heart attack, we should tell you.
That was news that Spotify was testing a skip ahead button.
Skip ahead of what, Jack?
Ads.
Uh-oh, ads. That's how the podcast industry is monetized. Without them, ain't got no business model.
Now, we should clarify, Spotify says that this skip ahead button, they're only testing the feature, and there's no guarantee it gets rolled out broadly.
And only Spotify premium users have this opportunity to skip ads with one single tap.
And to be fair, users probably love the idea of this button. I mean, who wants to listen to ads?
Oh yeah, by the way, use code TBOY at the end for checkout and tell them that Jack and I sent you.
Well, the answer, podcasters want you to listen to ads because it's their revenue source.
Which is why this next detail about the Spotify news kind of feels unfair.
Spotify's skip button, it's only for ads that Spotify doesn't sell itself.
That's right. Spotify sold ads are unskippable, baby.
So Spotify is preserving its own ability to make money on podcasts, but hurting non-Spotify shows' ability to make money.
Yeah, like Jack, let's say you're deep in Esther Perel's therapy podcast brought to you by Spotify. You can't skip those ads right now.
But you could with the best one yet, because we're not a Spotify podcast.
But either way, besties, this new feature follows a trend started by the web browser and continued with YouTube.
Ad blockers badly hurt web publishers. The skip ad button in YouTube hurt TV.
So Yetis, we'll see what happens with this whole skip ad button drama. But what we find more fascinating is the news of Spotify outing AI.
Because Spotify is becoming an AI bouncer. If you're a robot, Spotify wants to see some ID.
They announced it Tuesday, a new label for AI artists. Get ready for it.
Here's what Spotify said. Listeners have told us they don't like seeing an artist profile that seems human, only to find out that persona is actually AI.
Nothing more awkward when you're humming a song for the 50th time and realize the computer came up with the entire thing.
So first, Spotify will let AI accounts self-identify, giving them an AI persona badge everyone on Spotify can see.
And if that AI account does not self-identify, then Spotify will slap a likely AI badge on them and give them a chance to appeal.
And to be clear, when we say if the AI account doesn't self-identify, we're talking about the human in charge of the AI account. For now.
So add it up, Jack, and now we're getting 3 new labels on Spotify.
The AI label, the likely AI label, and the pre-existing verified checkmark there's always been.
It's like the cop and McLovin Spotify. They want to see some ID.
But even bigger news from Spotify is that they won't recommend music from AI artists in their playlists or their algorithmic recommendations. And that's a big deal.
Unless you opt in because you do want to hear a Robo Dua Lipa AI dupe.
It surprised us that Spotify won't recommend AI music because they have a financial incentive to do so.
Remember, bestie, Spotify has to send 70% of music revenue to human musicians. They don't have to send anything to the AI ones.
So it's a lot more profitable for Spotify to fill your playlists with Robo Dua Lipa than real-life Dua Lipa.
But Spotify's decision to suppress AI music in the algo is another sign of the anti-AI hate wave.
Which just might be the next song of Dua Lipa.
Or Robo Dua Lipa. Are you... How old are you again, Jack?
Old enough to party.
Exactly. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies over at Spotify, the AI bouncer?
It's the big content question of the day. Clean up slop or ban it altogether.
Yetis, the past 3 weeks, a whole bunch of platforms have taken action in response to the flood of AI slop. Get this.
Substack added an AI detector to help you spot newsletters written by nobody.
YouTube CEO, arguably the most powerful person in content, said a top 2026 priority is managing AI slop.
While Reddit is battling a bunch of inauthentic AstroTurf campaigns where people push products to trick AI models into recommending them.
You see, it's AstroTurf. And we told you this week about LinkedIn giving users a sounds like AI slop button to snitch on your AI buddies.
But Nick, until recently, LinkedIn had a rewrite with AI button to encourage you to use AI.
So Jack, I guess this conundrum kind of reveals the fine balance going on in the content wars right now.
The platforms believe AI-generated content is an opportunity. Because more content, there's more for them to monetize.
But if things get too sloppy, then you start to feel sick consuming it and users leave the platform.
So the content question every platform is dealing with right now, clean up slop or ban it.
What do you think, besties? Drop an answer in the comments and then we'll hit a commercial break, which you may or may not be able to skip.
Well, you can either skip it with one button or with two buttons.
Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for Ceviche Wednesday?
Domino's individual-sized pizza is for solo diners and diners who just don't want to share.
Selfish people, because the direct competition is not necessarily the correct competition.
For our second story, Spotify acted like the bad guy in podcasting by making ads incredibly easy to skip, and the good guy in music by labeling AI.
The big content question, clean up the slop or ban it.
And our third and final story is the New York Yankees. They're now minority owned by Apollo, a publicly traded PE firm.
It's proof that the only thing in sports not for sale is, shockingly, FIFA.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, NVIDIA has assembled the Avengers of American finance for a giant $500 billion deal.
NVIDIA doesn't want to build all its own data centers with its own money, so it's tapping Wall Street.
Apollo, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield, Goldman Sachs, KKR, they're all pitching in for this thing.
Every big money Wall Street firm wants in on the one thing growing this economy right now. Data centers.
And second, Bumble is going to pull a 180 and start letting men make the first move these days.
For context, Whitney Wolf Herd announced that this would happen 2 years ago. It was big news then. We covered it on the pod.
But now it's finally happening. So it's big news again that it's real.
But the reason is interesting. Women say that men who don't make the first move give low effort responses, which, come on, guys, we're better than that.
Bumble stock's down 60% from the last year because sometimes true love requires change.
And finally, the New York Post is launching a chatbot named Hamilton.
Based on the New York Post reporting, and it's named after the founder of that paper, Allie Hamilton.
That's right. There is a lyric in the musical stating that Hamilton is the founder of the New York Post.
Or, Jack, as this new chatbot would have said back then.
Aaron Bird, VP, blasts Hamilton in New Jersey duel.
All caps. All caps. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Lloyd Brotman, legendary Yeti from Philadelphia.
There's a wonderful list of inventions that haven't needed to change since the invention happened.
Yeah, the kind of stuff that we got right the first time, Jack.
Like the paperclip, the spoon, the bicycle. They've all barely changed since being invented.
Including the windshield wiper. But did you know that the windshield wiper was invented by a woman who got rejected by everyone?
In 1903, an Alabama entrepreneur named Mary Anderson was riding in a New York City streetcar that was blinded by a blizzard.
Now, back then, the driver had to stick their head out the window if there was any kind of precipitation happening.
So she designed a rubber blade and a mechanical wiping handle to wipe the window.
Voila, the first windshield wiper patent was granted to Mary.
She didn't make money off it, though, because every car company rejected the idea.
But eventually, after her patent expired, unfortunately, Cadillac was the first to make the windshield wiper standard.
Mary Anderson. She probably saved 1 million lives by making cars safer.
Yetis, you look fantastic for Ceviche Wednesday. Jack, you are glowing out there. And if anyone has a major piece of infrastructure they would like to move because of a Harry Potter scene, please speak now and let us know in the comments.
It's pronounced diagonally.
All right, Jack, get on that airplane. Can't wait to see you at the photo shoot. It's going to be fun.
Yetis, Nick and I will see you tomorrow.
Can't wait. And before we go, a happy birthday to Tam Lee, legendary Yeti down in Austin, celebrating with her puppy, Dohu.
And happy birthday to Diego and Camilla Lester, twins, both turning 8 years old in Washington.
And Andy and Ken Hay, a father-son with the same birthday, are celebrating in Sin City, Cincinnati.
Happy birthday to Emily Brinkman in Boston.
And Mia Sprayer from lovely Los Angeles is turning 26 on the big birthday.
Happy 31st birthday to Mara Chabin in El Segundo.
And Ray Dalio, the billionaire hedge funder, spent his 77th birthday at a club in Ibiza. Hope you had a fun time.
Congratulations to Justin Cram, who got on a panel at South by Southwest.
And Laura Quee and Nate Winters had their 3rd wedding anniversary from Cow Hollow, San Francisco. Congratulations, guys.
A big shout out to Howard Milhauser, who got his 2nd pink T-Boy hat because the first one he wore so much it got worn out.
Florida sun, man. It really is helping our inventory turnover. Love it.
And Don Donahue, we know you see us. Well, now we see you. If you know.
Now you know.
Now you know. This is Jack. I own stock of Bumble and Reddit, and Nick and I both own stock of Chipotle and Spotify.